Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Today, I'm going to talk to you guys about a signature model from 2010 that I bet a lot of you don't even realize came out. This is one of those lesser-known signature models for the Red Rocker. And if you don't know who that is, that's Sammy Hagar. Now, there's a lot of possible opportunities for you to have heard about this guy, either in his early days in his initial band of Montrose, or maybe you've heard his hit single, I Can't Drive 55, and then one of his more popular stints is when he took over for David Lee Roth in Van Halen. And I know there's kind of some controversy online over which era of Van Halen is the best, but in my opinion, I kind of like the Hagar years because it's just good feel-good music. But outside of that, he's done a bunch of other stuff, like he has his own tequila brand, Cabo Wabo, and he's in the band Chickenfoot. And that's the band that got him these signature guitars with Gibson. They gave him 2 of them. This one starting in 2010 and then an Explorer in 2011. And they're very similar guitars, but today let's just focus on this one, the Les Paul. He must be big in Japan because that's the only place you can find these things. Like, they were a worldwide release. I don't know if there were any official numbers talked about, but usually in this era of Gibson, they make about 400 or so. But whenever they show up on the used market, they're typically in Japan. Same thing with his Explorers. Let's take a look at this thing. The Red Rocker Les Paul. Okay, so first off, just taking a look at this, you're gonna think, kind of looks like a slash vermilion Les Paul. They've got the zebra bobbin pickups. You get a really nice dark wine red finish with kind of the creamed out attributes. And then one of the most controversial things about this Les Paul is the headstock. You're either gonna like it and dig it or not, but that is the band Chickenfoot logo. It's kind of similar to a peace sign at the same time. There's a lot of people that think it looks ugly and it's taking up the whole headstock, but at the same time, it makes this guitar uniquely Hagar's, and that's exactly what a signature guitar should be. I mean, the flame top on this one's actually really nice. So I brought this one back from Japan on request of a fan of the show, and I've got to say, wow, that top is really good. Like, it's not a monster top by any means, but it's got a lot of figuring to it and lots of nice wood grain. So definitely no regrets on that. Looks like maybe a little bit of a damage on the knob there, some internal cracking, but other than that, I would say the condition of this is actually very good. So outside of the Chickenfoot logo on the headstock, there's not much special about this. You get the Red Rocker emblem on the truss rod cover, but other than that, it's really just kind of a basic USA Les Paul standard, except for he kind of modified his pickups a little bit. We'll take a look at those things on the workbench. And to me, this feels like one of the golden era Les Paul standards. When I talk golden era, I'm talking like the late 90s into the early 2000s. Because in this time at 2010, they had switched over to like really weight relieved bodies. Some were chambered. I'm not sure when the ultra modern weight relief. But this feels to me like it's probably just 9-hole weight relief. But I'll do some more research and we can talk a little bit more about this on the workbench. Let's see if I got any case candy in here. Looks like I did. Canadian made Gibson USA case. Those are always nice. Get a nice matching switch tip cover there. And as far as original case candy, it looks like we get some sort of a owner's manual. Yep, this one was definitely shipped to Japan first. Looks like the initial dealer was G Club in Tokyo. Then our pre-pack checklist, 21510. So this was a very early one because I think they announced them in February of that year, if I'm not mistaken, and an owner's manual. So this is about what you'd get brand new. So to learn more about the Sammy Hagar signature Les Paul standard, let's go ahead, throw it on the workbench, and take an individual look at its parts and specs. Inside Sammy Hagar's Les Paul, the secret is within the pickups. So he's got a 57 Classic in the neck. And does he pair that with a 57 Classic down here or a 57 Classic Plus? No, he goes for the Burst Bucker 3. And I was able to confirm this has traditional weight relief, meaning the 9 holes, whereas the 2010 standard was chambered. But on the pickups themselves, you can see the identification stickers that are starting to fade with age. So what that means for you pickup wise is your bridge is going to be a little bit hotter. So this one measures 8.26 k ohms, whereas a 57 Classic normally around 7.5.
so 7.68 in the neck. And the middle on this one reads 3.98. And you get the golden speed knob for the controls. Of 2 volumes, 2 tones like normal. No fancy push-pulls or anything like that. And then here's what the pickup cavities themselves look like. It's marked CT in here, maybe cherry translucent, something like that. And then it looks like it says LP Sam for Les Paul Sammy Hagar. Nothing too funky going on, still a mahogany body with a 2-piece maple top, with some very nice figuring on this example. This must have been a collector's guitar, because I do not see hardly any play wear. I did have to clean the frets up a little bit, but that's just natural if it's sitting around in a case. Just a few minor scratch marks here or there. But the zebra bobbin pickups, they look great with the binding and the finish. But as far as our hardware, just regular style Nashville bridge marked PW. And then the tailpiece, I'm guessing this has been replaced because usually Gibsons have some sort of a casting mark on the back, but I do not see that. So potentially replaced or just something that I don't know about. And you'll notice these did not come with pick guards from the factory. But moving on from our body, we get to our mahogany neck and rosewood fretboard. Nothing too fancy going on here, just 22 medium jumbo frets, regular 12-inch radius with a 24 3/4-inch scale length, with acrylic trapezoid inlays. And I would call this basically like a 50s Les Paul standard neck. So nut width of 1.69 inches, that increases to 2.1 at the 12th. First fret neck depth 0.89 and 1.04 by the 12th. I know that sounds big, but it's just kind of a medium rounded neck profile, definitely similar to what you'd find on the 50s standard in the early 2000s. So basically they just reissued that, put a fancy thing on the headstock and swapped the pickups out and called it Sammy Hagar. But check out this cool truss rod cover. So they say that's the red rocker, so that makes it kind of cool. But the truss rod is in our usual location. It's looking good. And there's the big Chickenfoot. And the Gibson logo on this one has a lot of colors to it. I'm not sure if that was a special spec or if we just happened to get a really nice piece of mother of pearl for that, but that one is ultra active. And now that I've had this in person, this is not as eye-catching as I thought it would be. Like, I was one of those guys that thought, it kind of looks ugly. It's like, you know that dot game where you'd like play with your friends and just, connect the dots? That's what this guitar's always reminded me of. But a lot of people don't like this, so next year when they did the Sammy Hagar Red Explorer, they actually put it on the back, but they made it invisible except for at certain angles. So as far as tuners, we're just rocking the regular Kluson style here. And for the electronics, just our regular Gibson branded pots here. Except for, oddly enough, despite not having coil splits or anything, they used 4-conductor pickup wiring. The other ends just got taped off. So if you wanted to replace these pots and have coil splitting, you technically could and still have the original pickups. And here's what the toggle switch looks like. Nothing too fancy in there. Metal output jack plate, strap buttons in your regular location. This does utilize the historic looking thin binding in the cutaway. And here's a look at that mahogany neck. Let's go ahead and grab the contour gauge. Definitely a rounded C shape. Very rounded at the first fret, but then it kind of widens and flattens out by the 12th, but not by too much. And on the back here, you can see your Kluson Deluxe tuners, double line single ring version. Our serial number dates this to January 25th of 2010, first batch, and of course our Made in USA stamp. And lastly, this example weighs 9 pounds 3 ounces. That's really not bad. So let's go ahead, plug it in, and hear how the Red Rocker Les Paul sounds. Now that we know all about the Sammy Hagar Les Paul, what are my final thoughts on this thing? If you like the early 2000s Les Paul standards, you're gonna like this. The only thing that's really different is a few cosmetics and your pickups are slightly different. However, this one's definitely more collectible because they're kind of rare, hard to find. Not necessarily everybody's looking for one simply because of the whole headstock thing, but there's definitely lots of fans of Sammy Hagar out there. Now that I've had one of these things, how do I feel about the headstock? Honestly, when you're playing this, you don't really ever look at the headstock, or the angle that you do see, you just get a little bit of the white showing. It just feels like a regular Les Paul. It doesn't throw me off at all. However, it is very blatant and apparent to your audience that, you know, something's not quite right with that headstock. So it's definitely an attention-getting piece on this thing, and I don't think Gibson's ever done anything else similar to this, outside of like the Les Paul model silk screen or maybe a special inlay or two. But as far as a big band branding right on the headstock and the Red Rocker logo on the truss rod cover, I think it's kind of a one and done type thing. The hard part is finding one if you want one. You gotta set up a save search and just hope that one day one will show up. So this one gets my seal of approval. It's just a really nice Les Paul. So, thank you Troglodytes for tuning in today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.